Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Everton 0. We are now into the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. 2 wins from 2 in the Cup. It's a shame that our Premier League form isn't quite the same. But, you know, it's nice to get a win nonetheless. Wolves beating an Everton side who had a pretty decent start to the Premier League campaign as well. Wolves having a disastrous time in the Premier League. So it was nice to get some more minutes in the legs for certain players, try a different system, which I'll talk about as well, and of course get the win overall as well. If you managed to catch the game, let me know your thoughts in the comments section as well down below. The lineup came out, I'll flag it up on the screen now. Sam Johnston returning in goal, and the formation was sort of up in the air a little bit. I looked at it and I thought, this could easily be a 4 at the back. However, we have seen at times Jean-Ric Bellegarde take up sort of a place at wing back. A few people had replied saying it looked like in the warm-up he was, training as wing back, but quite sort of pleasantly surprised in the fact that it was a 4 at the back. It was almost sort of a 4-3-3. Strand Larsen in the middle of the two wingers who are Arias and Hwang, and Jean-Ric Bellegarde playing that sort of left central midfield role where at times he would drop in on the left-hand side, but sort of give Hugo Bueno a little bit more support. If you remember in the Leeds game, I mentioned it after the Leeds match that when Hugo Bueno came on, he looked a constant threat down the left-hand side, and Wolves are obviously using him to be the outlet, but at times there was just no support for him. So with Jean-Ric Bellegarde, and even with Hwang, he just had a little bit more at times going forward. And I would love this to be the way forward for Wolves with 4 at the back, because I think it allows us to get more men forward and break a little bit more. We'll see on Saturday against Tottenham, but it was nice to get a win and nice to be in the next round. I'm not going to sit here and say it was one of the best performances I've ever seen in my life, because I don't think it was. I thought, especially in the first half, both teams seemed a little bit sloppy. Everton obviously rotated a bit, as did Wolves, to be fair. It wasn't on paper our strongest team, but I think a lot of those players are probably now knocking on the door to start again on Saturday, to be honest. We get the goal eventually. I thought we were the better team in the first half, to be honest. We restricted Everton to very little opportunities. We had a lot of the ball. We get our goal in the end. The ball comes up in the air to Jean Arias, who tries a volley, forces a good save off the Everton goalkeeper. And Marshall Monetti's there to put it in the back of the net. Love him or loathe him, Marshall Monetti just seems to be in the right place at the right time. And sometimes you'll get the Marshall Monetti like today and he puts it into the back of the net. Other times you'll get the Marshall Monetti that we saw against Leeds where he's a little bit unfortunate and fires it straight at the goalkeeper. Thankfully, we saw the better side of that today, and he gave us that opening goal in the first half. And going into half-time, it was going to be very interesting to see which Wolves team we saw in the second half. I think even in the first half, just in terms of chance creation, the final ball on the counter-attack, it just seemed to be a team that was a little bit sloppy, and also a team quite low on confidence. Throughout stages of the full 90, to be fair, I think there were certain elements where a more confident team might play a little bit more free-flowing football. I think there were spaces and pockets, half pockets today, which we really could have taken advantage of. And players just seemed a little bit worried and scared to take those risks today. And there were times, I think Jean-Ric Bellegarde was probably guilty of it more than most others, where he could have really driven forward and picked out a good quality pass and could have created some real good opportunities. And unfortunately, we didn't quite see that. Second half, it was pretty much backs against the wall stuff, as you would expect. The second half wasn't a great spectacle from a Wolves point of view, especially after Everton brought on some of their big boys, the Iliman and Diaz, Jack Grealish came on Dewsbury Hall. They were going to be a constant threat. They were going to cause Wolves problems. Wolves got onto it quite quick, and it's funny how a differing referee sort of helps a team's performance, I suppose. Obviously, no VAR today, which was sort of nice to a degree. You sort of knew what you were going to get. Craig Pawson, not my favourite referee in the world, but what he did today, he let the game flow and he let challenges ride as well. Jack Grealish came on and Wolves decided to switch it. They had to play ugly. They were kicking lumps out of Jack Grealish. Early shout for a penalty, which I think he got the right call on. It wasn't a penalty for me. But every time Grealish got the ball, 1 or 2 Wolves players straight onto him. Sometimes leaving one late on him. But to be fair to Craig Pawson, he waited a long time before he started giving those bookings out. And that worked. You look at the stats, to be fair. Everton, towards the end of the game, had a number of shots. But Wolves restricted them to any, if not, they had very few clear-cut opportunities. 18 shots overall for them. Only 4 on target. Sam Johnston in goal seemed a pretty safe pair of hands, bar one instance right at the start of the second half where he passed it straight to an Everton attacker, and thankfully Wolves got away with it. But, you saw the swing in the second half. I think Wolves were close to 60% possession in the first half. At the end of the game, Wolves just about edged it. So the sort of overall sort of passage of the game, the overall control of the game switched to Everton in the second half. But what the key thing is really, when you get a half opportunity, when your back's are against the wall, you have to take it. And of course, I felt Vitor Pereira just maybe waited a tiny bit too long to make those subs. I think Everton were just piling on the pressure, and I think if we did wait any longer, it may have come back to bite us. But he made those changes, got some fresh legs on, and in the end, we find the ball through to Tolo Arakadare, and it was just calmness and confidence and composure personified. And the finish from him, beautiful dinked finish over the goalkeeper. And that is the finish of someone who has been the top goal scorer in their league over the last 2 years, which he was in Belgium. A phenomenal finish. And again, moments and goals and chances like that will give players confidence and overall give the team confidence, because the last sort of 5 minutes or so, including stoppages, we could just relax and calm down in the end. But it was nice. Look, still loads and loads of work to do. And, I don't want to play down this result too much because it is good. It's nice to get a win. I mentioned it in the previous round. I think I mentioned it on the podcast. It's a shame because I would love for us to go on a cup run, and there's potential to do so because we've just beaten 2 Premier League sides so far. But the results in the league have got to change as well, and I'm just hoping results like this. Although, I obviously wasn't at the game, as you could tell. There was a limited number of members of the crowd. They were back in the team. They were back in the head coach. And ultimately, everyone in there, from the Wolves end, everyone at home watching this, arguably wants the best for Wolves. And if we can continue to get positive results, that will be backed. So, 2-0 Wolves. Like I said, if you managed to catch the game, let me know your thoughts in the comments section. And let me know who you would like in the next round. Unfortunately, it can't be West Brom as they were knocked out before we even enter the competition. Until then, though, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.